Let's try to understand these figures. I have my colleague Winston Tackie joining me right now in the studio to explain to us what these actually mean. Winston, so we've seen that we've had an increase of 3.1% of inflation for the month of July. What does this mean?
It means that the general prices of goods and services increased by 3.1% compared to that of June. In June, actually, the prices were going astronomically high compared to the price differences. Between April and June, the price increased by 3.4%. But this increase seems to be quite marginal compared to the earlier increment that had happened. Some are saying that the figure being projected by the Ghana Statistical Service doesn't really reflect the reality in the market, because in the month of July, we saw the prices of fuel and most components which plays critical role in the food basket going higher. So as you can see, for this month, that is July's data being released, transport stands at 4.9, that is month to month. Compared to that of June, it has increased by 4.9% averagely. That is the highest recorded in terms of inflation. Housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels. Looking at water and electricity, we are hoping, according to PURC, coming month, we are likely to see increment in tariffs. This is likely to push inflation to hit possibly between 34 going, and which is seriously going to affect general price of goods and services in the market. We know that furnishing, household equipment, and routine maintenance also contribute to 42.0%, with recreation, sports, and culture. Food and clothing, food and non-alcoholic beverages generally contribute 32.3%. This is something that we know generally people buy in and out. Right?
Exactly, because you cannot avoid eating or taking in beverages or water or anything. So that is very striking. And the most striking one is the transport, which is occupying the top spot. And then the second one is housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, which are also unavoidable. We witnessed some marginal decrease in fuel in the month of July. Is that likely to reflect in the next month inflation figures?
Not necessarily, because the general depreciation of the Ghana cedi has taken away the windfall that we are likely to benefit at the pumps. As of now, the cedi has depreciated against the dollar, which plays a critical role in the pricing formula of fuel at the pumps. COPE projected that we shall see a decline of 3%. And when the decline starts being in effect, we are certainly going to see inflation going up, and transport generally goes up once the fuel prices goes up as well.
For the past few months, every inflation figure keeps breaking records. Are we likely to see a record number next month?
It depends on currently where we are. We are both in the middle. We've seen the IMF conversation going on. The key element that they are considering has to do with inflation. Another has to do with debt. Another has to do with forex management, currency management. As of now, I have inside information that access to dollar has become very critical in general pricing of goods, where there's also general capital flight currently happening. So it's likely that in the next 2 months, inflation will keep rising, and citizens have to adjust quickly before they tend to see value of goods and services go up.
That's quite interesting. Let's look at the disaggregation of inflation in eastern and western regions for July 2022. So these are the highlights. If you can see clearly, 29.2% domestic inflation in June. And then these are the figures, 31.3% imported inflation June 2022. It was slightly above the national average. And let's look at this one. This is 38.1%. That is the highest regional inflation rate. Eastern region, an unlikely suspect. If any region was supposed to top this figure, many would have predicted the Greater Accra region. And we have the lowest region being the 19% in the Upper East region. So the 31.7% year-on-year inflation for July 2022. Food inflation, which is quite interesting, in June 2022 was 30.7%. And then we're witnessing 32.3%. Come down, you see 31.3% 29.1%. Winston, let's talk about the Eastern region being the region on top of that list. Is that surprising?
Not necessarily. We have to look at, first of all, the role the Eastern region plays in our general outlook of GDP, the contribution in terms of domestic food harvest, in terms of agriculture, in terms of business. So generally, access to ordinary commodities have become difficult in the region. So, and also the rainfall pattern for the past few months has difficult in the Eastern region. It was just this recent, that is July, August, that we've seen the rainfall pattern changing a bit, but we hope that going up, initially the Upper East, Upper West were those who were seriously having challenges, but they are in the harvest season where yam and some food crops are coming into the market. The one disturbing issue which is above our control is the imported inflation, where our general taste for foreign imported goods is causing the inflation to go high. And another disturbing element that we keep hearing from government is that consistently Russia-Ukraine, anytime you make mention of Russia-Ukraine, it put out a picture to the investors that we don't have control of our domestic fundamentals, basically importation. That means domestically we don't have enough factories or we don't have enough industries to produce enough to sort out our domestic demands. Right,
and then I think one thing also is that the Eastern region has some of the best hotels in the country who usually charge in dollars. Even the biggest hotel in Africa is located in this region. Could that also be a contributing factor to that figure?
That will do in terms of service structure, because when we look at general access to service, hospitality industry, that is what we can talk about. But in this instance, we're looking at the food basket that is considered in calculating the inflationary figure. So when we take that into consideration, we look at the cases that have to do with transport fares, we have to look at health facility, recreational, and all those elements is what was considered. But if we are to look at the contribution of the services sector, it is most certainly that within the few years since the building up of that hotel facility, we will say services sector has increased astronomically over the years, because in the first quarter GDP for 2022, the services sector played a critical role in the general outlook of the figure.
Let's look at the Upper East region, which recorded the lowest of 19.8%, which was also way below the national average of almost 32%. Any surprise there?
I'm not surprised, because over there I had information from some of our correspondents that access to simple commodities have flooded the market. Now people bring enough goods. People, even when you go to the market, you can buy a basket of tomatoes for just 10 cedis, and compared to Accra, that will be in the thousands of Ghana cedis. But that is something that we have to considerably deal with. One policy advice that possibly, if government considers, is to target the food basket and formulate policies or strategies to deal with the food basket. Because if the food basket, the element in the food basket consistently keep rising, then why can't you strategize a policy? For instance, we keep importing maize. If you know the importation of maize is a challenge, then how can't you empower our local farmers in the country to, in a way, strategize enough to feed our domestic demands?
Interesting analysis there. Thank you very much, Winston Tackie. Winston Tackie is my colleague here at Metro Television. Now